Welcome to The Bark, episode 5. As always, I am your host, Ken Paulk, with Cameron Page and Colby Bunce. And today we are joined by the head baseball coach, Coach Paulk.
Hey, great to be here.
All right, so yesterday was your first scrimmage against West Lawrence. Could you just summarize that game for us?
Well, I think for us it was an opportunity for some of our younger guys to get some experience. We made a lot of changes to the way we're doing things as far as the program is concerned. So I have a pretty good idea of what my older guys are going to do. What I needed was to see what my younger guys were going to do. And it worked out pretty well because we got to stack up against West Lawrence older players. Got a good estimate of where we are as far as pitching, as far as hitting. So I thought even though the score didn't show it, I think it was a success just because of the experience that we got.
West Lawrence first baseman, did he eat their actual first baseman?
I'm not sure.
He's like a 6'8".
He's quite a large individual.
He was a very large individual.
Yeah. Very, very nice guy, though. I got to talk with him a little bit. Yeah, very, very, very cool guy.
All right, and so what was something that you guys did well that game? What was something that stood out to you?
We didn't put any runs on the board, so that was obviously a negative. But one of the positives, I think, was just with the age of our pitching, I think we did really well in not bowing to pressure, I guess. West Lawrence is a very good hitting team. I think our pitchers, despite their youth, pitched probably above their age, not really getting flustered. I didn't see a lot of frustration on the mound. I saw a lot of poise and trying to pitch through situations. And so I think overall, for me, looking at that young set of arms, we threw 3 freshmen and 1 sophomore yesterday. Throwing those guys and seeing the way that they carried themselves, I think was the best thing I could have taken away from last night.
All right, and so I think you guys only had 1 hit last night.
Mm-hmm.
That obviously is not the best outcome that you're looking for. On a technical fundamental standpoint, how are you guys going to work better to get those numbers up?
Well, a lot of it has to do with the beginning of the season. Up until now, we've only been able to play inter squads, and so the whole purpose of the scrimmage is so that we can see that level of velocity from a good team. And again, West Lawrence did us a really good favor. I mean, they threw the first guy was probably 84, 85. He's their number 1, and the second guy they brought behind him was probably low 80s. We didn't see a guy that last night that is probably below 80 miles an hour. So for us, it's just going to be a gradual process, and my goal is to get our team ready for region play. That's when it's really going to start counting. All these games that lead up to that are just providing information for me as to who that starting 9 needs to be.
Y'all's first game is at Appleton County, correct?
Right. We're supposed to be traveling there tomorrow, weather permitting.
How do you think that game's gonna go? And from your prospect,
it's going to be a challenge. They're a perennial playoff team. The guy that we'll probably be facing tomorrow, he just signed a full scholarship to Tennessee. He's 91 to 92. But with that challenge, it's preparing us for a team that we're going to play in the region later on who has a commit to UGA. He is 89 to 91. He's about the same. So it's going to be a challenge for us, but it's a challenge that we need to see. Instead of, playing, we could have played lower tier teams and come out with wins, but I would much rather have a challenge, see that early and get prepared for it so we know it's coming.
How are you preparing for that?
Well, again, through the scheduling. We prepare through the scheduling. We scheduled Perry, who is, again, they're in state playoffs every year. We scheduled West Lawrence, who are in state playoffs every year. Appleton County, who's in state playoffs every year. So we prepare by challenging ourselves early. We have a number of teams in the region that, quite honestly, are not going to be as much of a challenge. So trying to make those first couple weeks as challenging as possible so that we're engaged in the game. And then in our practices, we keep the intensity. We have a plan. We have a practice plan. We have a list of things that we need to check off and do. And we don't deviate from that. We continue with what we said we were going to do and where we think we need to be. I didn't take last night as a defeat. I just took it as, here's where we need to get better. Obviously, we need to get better at hitting. And so we gear toward that.
How many seniors do we have on the team?
Carrying 5 right now. Yeah, carrying 5. We have 3 pitchers, and we have 2 position players. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 6. Six.
Yeah,
excuse me.
but there's a lot of freshmen there too, isn't there? There was just
Yeah.
a lot of I feel like that's why you probably started the freshmen to see what they're gonna do because that's your future and everything. So,
Correct.
yeah.
Right. And like again, Brody Gordon, I know what he's going to do. Dawson Harris, I know what he's going to do. Bo Mansfield, I know what they're going to do. In the field, I know what Drew's going to do. So I know what those guys are going to do. So to see a freshman, to see a sophomore, to see how they will react in an actual game, for me, that's gold. And in a scenario where the wins and the losses, there is no wins and there is no loss. It's just a practice game.
Yeah.
That's all it was. So, for me, it was a great night. Although, again, from someone looking from the stands, you see 5-0, you think, oh God, we're going to be horrible this year. But I try to think of it like, if we're preparing something, a meal, you can obviously cook something in the microwave. It'll get ready quick, but it won't be as good as if you take the time to prepare it. It may take a little longer, but in the end, it's going to taste better. It's going to probably be more nutritious, and it will last longer. So, and that's what we're building for. We're building for the future, and I know some people probably don't see that right now, and with the changes that we had to make, I know that kind of hurts some people, but I felt like that's what we needed to do to drive the program forward.
All right. Well, I do appreciate you coming out and talking with us. This has been The Bark, and thanks for listening.